Yeah, the first few verses talk about the seven spirits of God and all those things, and the wonderful blessing of true restoration when wolves lay down with lambs and all that stuff. I mean, it's prophetic. And most of us trying to wait till a certain type of utopia coming to the earth where there's a literal fulfillment of wolves and lambs. But that's not necessarily what Isaiah was prophesying about. He was speaking of pictures. And we learned that on Wednesdays. That most of what we read in the Bible are actually pictures that point to the New Testament. Right? It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again. A second time. To do what? To recover. What? The remnant of his people. Then he's going to tell you where these peoples naturally so are located. Or where they've been dispersed. They call it diaspora. It means they have been divided. And you got to understand the whole history of this nation. Natural Israel was given to whoredoms and harlotries, and from the beginning, from the time Moses went up in the mountain, Mount Sinai, Horeb, it depends on your interpretation, the children of Israel was bent towards whoredoms. He was up enjoying the Lord in his presence, getting instructions. They were down at the foot of the mountain doing what church people do when they're not doing anything else, making idols. Amen. So when they got to the promised land, they found out that a lengthy history transpired, almost 2 millennials, a long length of time. But anyway, God in his goodness, because he always remembers mercy, he said, I'm going to reach out to you guys a second time. Historically, I'm talking about. Right? Because I like to put in this right context so people won't charge me taking it out of context. They call it eisegesis. So I like the exegesis. So I have to take all the, the indictment that would come against me away so that we can stand faultless and blameless when I give you what I feel the Lord is saying. So historically, he said, I'm going to recover the remnant of his people, right? Which was left from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and the isles or the islands of the sea, which comprised of a total of what? 8 places. From Assyria to the isles of the sea. He is saying, I'm going to redeem them. Amen. And you got to understand the total history. This particular, there's no natural fulfillment to this. Because 10 tribes up north, the northern kingdom, never existed after they went in bondage in 722. Assyria took them into captivity. That's where you get the Samaritans. You ever heard of that word? It's a mixture of Assyrians and natural Israel. Okay, so we can't, so those that are dispensationally inclined, I know I got friends that are still believing that there's going to be a millennium coming and God's going to restore all these people and bring them back to a plot of land with a bunch of dirt and another temple and look for the red heifer and have a Kohen priest and restore from the degradation of an old system, raise up a priesthood, which he found fault with, according to Hebrews, right? Okay, so he's not going to backtrack. God don't backtrack. He always increases, right? Okay, verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, right? So he's going to raise up a what? Ensign. And I believe we stopped over here, right? The standard is raised. That's what it means, a banner, a standard. There's going to be a standard when he recovered his people. They're going to begin to form a picture, a prophetic picture of God's redemptive qualities. And they're being brought from those 8 places, not so they can hide in the building.
Amen.
They've been brought from them 8 places so they can be a signal, a symbol, a banner to the nations.
Amen.
That's why God saved you. He saved you so that you can be a down payment, a witness to his hidden potential or hidden expectation for the whole earth, for the world. Not just a special group of people, not just a caste system, not just because if you saved, sanctified, filled the precious gift of the Holy Ghost.
Amen. Say that.
You're only the beginning phase of what God wants to do on a larger scale. You got it? So that's just a small, we're just a small iota in the mind of God. But it begins with the people that he's bringing out from Assyria to the isles of the sea. Amen? So that he can set up a banner, a standard. Amen? That's what he want to do. Sounds like Matthew 5 to me. He want to set us on a, what? Candlestick. He want to put us on a hill. A light that cannot be hid. Right? You don't have to go get tracts when your life is speaking. You don't have to preach the gospel when your life is a witness.
Yes.
That's what people are going to get saved for.
Yes.
A lot of people in the world are tone deaf. Because the church has misrepresented God.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, they love God, they just hate his people.
That's true.
They want answers and solutions. They just haven't seen anything viable. And there's no validity to who we say we serve. Huh? Yeah, that's what he wants. He wants us to be a valid example, an authentic, genuine representation of who God is. And then he uses us, and we the contact point. That's why the standard has to be raised. But it can't be raised in our life until it becomes a part of our life. Can't have it in doctrine only. If we are only a people in the earth, not I'm talking about y'all, I'm talking about just the general body, if we only comply doctrinally, then in our presentation of God, we're atheists. Because we're basically saying no God. Not no God, K-N-O-W, no God. There's no representation in our life. There's nothing that we found in our relationship with God that is worth sharing. That's why we have to change. We have to. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. I ain't got nothing to do with all that. You just don't know what I'm going to... Who cares? At this point, how long we going to have that discussion? How long now? Somewhere along the line you have to say, no, I'm not going to get on that channel with you. Turn the channel. I'm not going to go there with you. Those are just excuses. Like prophets told us a long time ago, you can try to deny the truth if you want to, but it's going to stand anyway.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Excuses don't offset the truth. This is what prophet said. Denying the truth doesn't excuse you from it. So we can sit up and say, well, you know, I ain't really feeling that way. And it's just too hard. Well, it gets easier, supposedly, as you walk with God. As he begins to show himself faithful in your life. And because he's faithful.
Yes.
He's faithful if you don't see him faithful. He's faithful because he said he's faithful.
Yes, he is.
And he swore by 2 immutable oaths. And those 2 immutable oaths was he said he's going to do it and he did it.
Yes.
Right? So he did reach his hand out a second time to us. And he's reaching his hand out to us again. He did it in the first century. Well, he did it in the first century to them. But let me just make it more palatable for us. He did it again in the first 1900s. In Azusa Street. How many know Azusa Street brought a wind, brought a blessing in the earth? It was always other places in Europe and stuff that had manifestation. Yes. But he set America on fire. Yes. And that fire spread. Yes. If you do any kind of research on history. And he's still now, he's a second time. Many call it the second Reformation. He's reaching out to us again. I believe there was a second one. I believe this is the third one to me, but I believe this is I believe that was just a first fruit in Canada, the southern part of Canada in the 40s. But I believe now that this is not just the former, but this is the latter rain. This is the increase of the Spirit coming to the earth. But first, before we can benefit from the fullness of His Spirit, we have to be recovered. We have to be brought from some things. We have to be renewed in the spirit of our mind and our understanding as it relates to God's purpose. So that's why the standard has to be raised, a sign, a symbol, and a banner. So you should be excited that you got a pastor that's raising a standard.
Amen.
Not raising political agendas, not raising... religious persuasions and doctrinal beliefs, but there's a banner, and and the standard I have is Christ. So I don't. It's not really anything outside of Christ. If Christ is excluded from what we teach, it becomes dogma.
Amen.
All right. So we're not into dogma. We are progressive as it relates to what God is saying and how He's going to say it and where He's leading us to. Right. So that standard has to be raised. Tell your neighbor, it has to be raised. It's not enough to be raised in the pulpit.
That's right. Amen.
Yes.
Yeah. You tell me.
Yes.
It can't be raised up here, man. This is generic form.
Mm-hmm.
Paul told the church in Corinth, he said, you are the proof of what I teach.
My apostleship, yes.
1 Corinthians 9. I know. I take it for advantage. Not for advantage, but for granted. Thank you, baby. I got so many thoughts going on in my head. Okay, these glasses are not working. I wonder why not. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. I thought my head was getting white. 1 Corinthians 9. Verse 1. It said, am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not what? Have I not seen Jesus Christ our Lord? Are not you my work in the Lord? If I be not an apostle to others, yet unashamedly, without any question, I am to you. So he said basically, I ain't trying to fit in everybody's niche. I ain't trying to discover if I go to a church and they receive me as an apostle, but to you, I'm an apostle.
Yes.
Right?